So, today we're going to talk about something huge, a fundamental shift that's happening right under our noses. It's this big move away from a system that was really designed for a totally different time, and toward a whole new way of thinking about education, work, and honestly, society itself.
I mean, does that question hit home for you? If you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are not alone. It's this feeling of misalignment, right? Between the world we live in now and the institutions that are supposed to get us ready for it. And that feeling, it's not just a random hunch. It actually points to a much deeper story about where our whole system came from.
All right, so let's dig into that. Where did this system actually come from? Well, we've got to start with the world that most of us grew up in, what's often called the factory model of education. And its logic, man, it's so baked into everything that we often don't even realize it was a choice to begin with.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Things like mass schooling, putting kids in classrooms based on their age, standardized tests, all of that stuff came about right alongside the rise of factory production. And the goal? It was pretty clear. Create a predictable, controllable workforce for what they thought would be a predictable, controllable world.
Yeah, these were the core design principles. This system was not built to nurture individual sparks or creativity. Nope. It was built for one thing: efficiency. It needed to standardize how people acted, sort them neatly into roles, and of course, make sure everyone followed the rules and showed up on time. That was the whole game.
And right at the heart of all this was a really specific idea about the student. In this model, the learner was basically seen as, well, an empty vessel, just waiting to be filled up with pre-approved facts and figures. It was all about a top-down transmission of information, not some kind of collaborative journey of discovery.
Okay, but here's the thing. That model, which worked, for the industrial age, it is now showing some really deep and troubling cracks. The world has changed dramatically, but the system, for the most part, it stayed the same. And the consequences of that gap, they're becoming absolutely impossible to ignore.
And there is a very, very real human cost to all of this. I mean, think about it. The constant pressure to conform, that fear of failure, always being measured against one single standard, it is taking a brutal toll. This isn't just about academic pressure. It's way deeper. It's a systemic problem that's affecting the well-being of an entire generation. And you can see the signs of this breakdown popping up everywhere. People are just losing faith in these old institutions. You've got powerful movements celebrating neurodiversity that are challenging the very idea of a normal learner. And here's the kicker. The skills that the old system values are totally mismatched with the kind of creative, adaptive thinking our world demands right now.
So the big question is, what's emerging from all these cracks? Well, it's not just some small tweak or a minor reform. No way. We're talking about a complete, fundamental shift in our most basic assumptions about people. It's a move towards something that's being called the uniqueness revolution. And this right here is the absolute heart of the new model. It sounds so simple on the surface, but I promise you, it changes everything. Instead of starting with some rigid standard and then measuring how far people deviate from it, it starts with the individual in all of their amazing complexity.
And when we talk about uniqueness here, we're going way deeper than just, personality types. We're talking about our actual brain wiring, our neurophysiology, our deepest interests and values, our whole life story. The new way of thinking sees these differences not as problems that need to be managed, but as absolutely vital information. Here's a great way to think about it. Picture an ecosystem. A forest that has only one type of tree, well, it's incredibly vulnerable to disease or change. But a forest with tons of biodiversity, it's resilient, it's adaptive, it's strong. This new paradigm basically argues that human communities work the exact same way.
So, this way of thinking leads to a completely different approach. I mean, if you truly believe everyone is unique, then the goal can't possibly be to fix their so-called flaws. No, the goal has to be to identify and then cultivate their natural strengths.
And this is so crucial. It completely shifts the fundamental question we ask. The old paradigm, it's obsessed with deficits. It's always asking, what's wrong? What's missing? How do we fix this person? The new asset-based model flips that on its head. It starts by asking, what strengths are already here? What are your gifts? And how can we build an environment where those gifts can truly shine?
This brings us to a really powerful concept: collective individuality. I know, it sounds like a contradiction, right? But it's the idea that we can honor and develop our own individual uniqueness while also being deeply connected to a community. In fact, It argues that the health of the whole group actually depends on each person bringing their own unique contribution to the table.
And you know what else this changes? The primary emotional fuel of the entire system. Think about it. The old model runs on fear. Fear of bad grades, fear of not getting into the right college, fear of being left behind. This new paradigm suggests a much more powerful and way more sustainable motivator, the pure joy of genuine engagement, of wonder, and of human connection. Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? How do we actually move from that old factory floor model to this flourishing ecosystem of learners? Well, this table really captures the shift perfectly. You can see it right there. The purpose is no longer about compliance and sorting people into boxes. It's about personal flourishing and contributing to the whole. The motivation shifts from extrinsic fear to intrinsic joy. And the role of the adult? It's no longer being an enforcer and just transmitting information, but becoming a facilitator of discovery, a co-learner. And this means making some really concrete changes across the board. Your curriculum, it moves from being this static block of content to a set of flexible frameworks. How we teach, the pedagogy, it shifts from just transmitting info to co-constructing knowledge through real-world projects. Assessment evolves from a single high-stakes test to diverse portfolios that show what someone can really do. And even the environment itself breaks free from just desks and rooms to include nature and collaboration. Ultimately, this is the goal. This is the destination. We're talking about an education that doesn't try to cram you into a mold or make you into something you're not. Instead, it helps you become more fully and truly yourself, with the understanding that your authentic self is exactly what the world actually needs.
So this all leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. And look, this isn't just about schools. This is about our workplaces, our communities, our entire society. It's kind of the central challenge, but also the most profound opportunity of our time. So I'll leave you with this. How do we start building that world? A world where everyone's uniqueness is truly seen as a contribution.